Hey there fellow creators, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and when it comes to choosing which particular colors of paint you want to buy and then paint with for your paintings, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of different colors out there, but how do you know which ones are going to be right for you? Well, today I'd like to explore that. Stick around. So like many artists, I choose to build out my set of colors across many different tubes. And if you guys have seen my videos before, also know that I do that across many different mediums, not just acrylic and not just one viscosity of acrylic paint either. I've got a lot of colors. However, some people actually have the misconception that just because I have all of these colors, that must mean, oh, I'm going to use all of these colors in every painting. It's not necessarily the case. I have to refine it down, think about exactly what colors I want for each individual piece. I'm not using all 14, 15 of them in every painting. That would be ridiculous. So I'd like to talk about which colors I pick and choose to buy and have in my studio, as well as which colors I pick and choose for each individual painting, as well as some tips for you guys to do the same. So each type of painting or other artistic media is going to have obviously some different working properties between them. Oil doesn't behave like acrylic, acrylic doesn't behave like watercolor, and also as a result of interesting chemistry in the differences of those binders, not every pigment is going to be compatible across the board. You might get a pigment that's only available in oil paint or only available in acrylic just based on how mixing that paint actually works for the manufacturer. As a result, you tend to have to make some decisions about which colors you want one way or the other. When I'm just getting started trying a new media, usually I am just picking up a red, a blue, a yellow, and a white. So basic primaries plus white, which is what would probably be included in a 4-tube color theory set. Again, if it's a new medium to you, or to me, or to whoever, it's important to learn the basics of your color mixing before you decide to expand into 1,000 colors. Now, when I do eventually expand those colors into a more working set versus a basic color theory set, I'm specifically looking for colors in which that I know will be useful to me, as well as useful for what I'm painting specifically. There are certainly projects where I've known certain colors exist, but don't necessarily paint with them on a regular basis, but in order for me to get the idea right, I would have to go buy that color in order to do it. When it comes to my acrylic painting, my core colors and everything like that, I find that I actually really liked having a mixture of opaque colors and transparent colors, both for their versatility as well as for the convenience, allowing me to make the work more competently and a lot easier for myself. This isn't to say that I am exclusively just grabbing a bunch of new colors all the time. I do like to challenge myself. My working color set changes on a regular basis. Every year or two, I'm switching out maybe a cadmium yellow for a different color yellow or different things like that. I'm always looking to expand, try new colors, and challenge myself in my work in that way. Plus, because I have such a love for the physical media, a lot of times I am chasing after different, unique, and exclusive colors that aren't available across different brands. Sometimes just trying a new material or a new color, something that you've never seen before, can really inspire you to take your work a little bit further. This happened somewhat recently this year in picking up some of my first of the interference colors that Golden produces. Happened a couple years ago as well with another Golden exclusive color, Smalt Hue. This is my secret weapon for shadows and natural looking darks in all my paintings. And even something that's not acrylic, something like the Daniel Smith Primtech colors, which are ground up minerals and gemstones. That is a wild and unusual thing that only exists in this one brand, and as a result, I'm inspired to go out, get it, and try it for myself. And then as a result, finding ways to adapt that color into my already working color set in order to create new and interesting paintings. Now, once I've built myself a comfortable set of colors, it's time to, make a painting, and I'm not necessarily grabbing, everything off the shelf and laying it all out on my table. I'm being a lot more selective with which tubes I pick. Each individual painting will always have its own individual goals and challenges, and as a result, you don't necessarily want to just use every color available. While it is certainly possible to mix up from a really basic limited palette of primaries, I personally like to be just maybe 1 or 2 quick mixes away. This saves me on a lot of time in terms of producing my art, as well as just allows me the freedom to try new things. Visually speaking, not necessarily in terms of mixing paint. Plus, as mentioned before, I really do also love some transparent paint colors on my palette, and as a result, this allows me to get some fun glazes, especially later in the painting process. For most of my work, I am taking my regular set of 14 or 15 colors and boiling that down to maybe 5 or 6 for each individual painting. This isn't to say I don't occasionally reach over for maybe a little couple drops of one more color, but for the vast majority of my work, it's going to be these handful of colors for this piece specifically. Now, a pretty big part in being able to only grab 4 or 5 colors and not need to constantly mix and try to figure out all of these different mixes based on all of these colors I have are my color maps. That's why I make them, is so I know, oh, okay, I only need maybe these 3 or 4 colors rather than all of them. I'm like, I know exactly what these mixers are doing. I can reference it constantly while I'm painting or while I'm setting up for a painting. I can say, okay, this color, and this color, and this is going to give me all of these ranges within this one block, and I'll be able, in that sense, to say this is where picking a more limited range of colors, again, 4 or 5 tubes, this is going to get me all of these values, all of these hues, so I don't necessarily need to grab everything. Again, that's why I keep bringing up the color maps in videos, because they are that wildly useful. Having a specific color map that you make yourself based on all of your individual colors saves you money, it saves you time, and it saves you a lot of headaches when it comes to actually working on your piece. In addition to the pre-planned color maps and pre-planned colors in general, a lot of times I'm going into a painting from a sketch already knowing what colors I'm using for that piece in mind. This isn't always the case, and when it is not the case, it's usually when a pre-painting sketch is appropriate. I usually do this in a digital painting program, previously Photoshop, now currently Clip Studio Paint, to get a general idea of the color. And what's really useful about doing a digital concept, you can also do it in like pastels or colored pencils rather, in order to give yourself an idea. But the versatility of doing it digitally is the fact that you can like just change the hue slider bar and change all of those different colors and values and find out what is going to work for that piece, whether or not your original idea for the colors was right, or if you can adjust that slightly before you go into a piece. At least that's how I approach it. The pre-painting sketch is also really, really useful for client work, especially if you're doing like a commission for somebody who doesn't necessarily know what they want. You can give them a few iterations and variations on that idea before you take it to canvas, and you might make something that they don't really like that much. So these are my approaches and practices to finding and choosing my colors for an individual piece. Also included would be like think about color relationships and color families and different things like that, and color schemes more or less. I don't think about that as much as I do, I think, on the forefront as I do subconsciously. But I would like to talk about what all of this means for you guys. Like, what are the actual tips that you should be deriving from all of this random information about how I do my work? To review, first, always start with your primaries, especially if you're jumping into a new painting medium. A basic color theory set works just fine if you don't want to get all of the tubes all at once. Just look at what colors are in the basic color theory set and then buy them individually. This is actually kind of how I got into having a few tubes of gouache. I only have 8 tubes of gouache, but I just started with a single red. Actually, I think the red I started with was given to me, so I didn't necessarily buy that. But then that's all I did. Then I got a yellow, then I got a blue, then I got a white, and then I got like 2 or 3 other colors that I felt allowed me to have a better range of color mixing. Second, it's always important to not only just do a sketch and kind of have a basic foundation before you go into a piece, but also really think about your subject and what you want to show and say with the piece you're making. This is really important, especially if you're like, I'm going to have this really melancholy piece of a woman crying to the side or something. And it's like, well, what colors do you want to use for that? And it's like, orange. It's like, no, pick blues. Think about the color families and warm and cool and stuff like that. And don't just like, random colors off my shelf. When it comes to buying new colors and expanding your set, it's important to think about what colors are you mixing the most often. Would a convenience color actually be useful to you? Something like sap green, for example. For me, I mixed a lot of greens, and while I'm more than happy mixing a blue and a yellow together, I have lots of blues and yellows, which kind of create a lot of different varying greens. So if I can start with a single more middle of the road green and then just move it towards the yellow or move it towards the blue a little bit, that's going to save me time, it's going to save me money, and it's going to save me a lot of headaches in my work. As I mentioned before, trying new colors and like, oh, I've never even seen this color before. I wonder what I could do with it. It's a great way to jumpstart your inspiration and keep you challenging yourself and pushing your work further. Well, it's nice to have comfort zone colors. It's also important to challenge yourself and break out of your comfort zone and force your art into new avenues. And a great way to do that is just trying some new colors. And if you, like me, love buying all kind of different colors of paint, just remember you don't necessarily have to use all of them at once. So whether your studio is stocked with a large number of different colors or just a smaller, more compact set, it's important to know what you're buying and why in order to make better decisions both for your wallet, for just the time frame you spend while you're painting, as well as what you can do to expand your horizons both with inspiration and with your skill levels. Choosing colors that both challenge you and work well with your visual style can make a pretty huge difference in the long run. Remember to think about your value and color relationships when picking colors, either for, again, individual painting or just when you're fleshing out your own basic set. If you ignore things like value and color harmonies and color relationships, color harmonies was the phrase I was looking for earlier, you're going to run into a lot of problems. Why doesn't this look right? Why is this so dark? Why is this so light? Well, basic things, value and color relationships make a huge difference. But as always, this is just my approach to this. I'm curious what you guys think in comments below. How do you guys approach color? Do you get every color imaginable and boil it down? Or do you work with a more limited palette? You know, warm red, cool red, warm yellow, cool yellow. To give yourself an easier way to mix a wide range of colors? Or are you like me and looking for more conveniences to save yourself some time? I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys use in your studio. So let me know. Also, be sure to like this if you enjoyed it or learned something. Hit subscribe and get subscribed if you're not already. That's how that phrase goes. My socials are all in the description box below, as always, including the community Discord. You can sign up for the newsletter on my website. And at this point in time in the year, if you're watching in November when this video goes out, if you're on the newsletter, you will get a discount coupon code for my online shop where I sell prints and some custom art supplies you guys might be interested in. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Keep on creating, and I will see you guys next time.